हार ना मानने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती। ये कहावत तो आप लोगों ने, हमने, सबने सुना होगा। पर आज एसएसबी क्रैक टॉक्स में जिनके साथ हमारी मुलाकात होने जा रही है, दैट पर्सन हैज प्रूव्ड दिस पर्टिकुलर सेइंग एब्सोल्युटली राइट। Hello everyone, I'm Anuradha and I welcome you back to yet another episode of SSB Crack Talks. आज के हमारे एपिसोड में है अधिदेव सिंह जसरोटिया, जो कि हिमाचल प्रदेश के रहने वाले हैं और जिन्होंने अपने 5th अटेम्प्ट में एसएसबी से रिकमेंडेशन हासिल किए हैं। His father is a government associate professor and his mother is a homemaker. बचपन से उनका यही शौक था कि आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ज्वाइन करेंगे, बट लगातार फेलियर्स को फेस करने के बाद एक टाइम ऐसा आया जब उनको लगने लगा, am I really fit for the defense? And after getting screened out in his 4th attempt, he thought, it's not for me. But उनके माता पिता, उनके फ्रेंड्स उनको आगे बढ़ने का स्ट्रेंथ दिया. And depending on their encouragement, he just wanted to go for another SSB to try his luck. And his luck really changed because he got recommended from 19 SSB Allahabad for TES-49 entry, and he became AIR 138. So let us welcome with a big heart and a round of applause the guest for today's episode, Mr. Adhidev Singh Jasrotia. Hi Adhidev, how are you?
Hi ma'am, all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine as well. Sorry, but I mispronounced your name as Adhidev, but okay, sorry for that.
Not a problem, not a problem.
Adhidev. So Adhidev, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
So hello everyone. My name is Adhidev Singh Jasrotia. I hail from Nurpur, Himachal Pradesh. It is a town near Dharamshala, and I've got recommended for the TES-49 entry from 19 SSB Allahabad. But I did get merit out with the AIR rank of 138. And talking about my hobbies, I love to do video editing and I love to go for trekking as well. And I will be pursuing my first year of engineering at BITS Pilani.
Okay, that's a very bright future ahead of you. So coming back to your recommendation, Adhidev, you got recommended in your 5th attempt. How are you feeling after getting finally recommended?
It was a great feeling. I mean, it was almost my last attempt, so it was somewhere emotional. But yeah, it was a great feeling. It was like that fairy tale ending, the the best thing has happened to me. So yeah, it was the SSB thing was in my hand. So I made the best out of it, and it was like a fairy tale ending.
Okay, so you just now said that you were almost in the last attempt. Could you please tell us about all your previous attempts and what were your results in them?
Sure, ma'am. It was my 5th attempt. So before that, I had given 4 attempts. So my first attempt was for NDA in SSB Bangalore, and I was conference out there. My next attempt was for Navy Tech, and I again was conference out from Bhopal. My third attempt was for TES-48. I was again conference out from Kapurthala. Now it is Jalandhar. And my 4th attempt was for NDA again in Bhopal, and in that I got screened out for the first time.
Okay. So why do you think you were getting constantly conference out consecutively for 3 times?
I feel like nobody's perfect for first of all, but there was small mistakes that I was making, and I introspected upon that. Like in the first attempt as well, I realized that I was a bit too naive. I was trying to be a person who wasn't in the psych test and every other test. In the second attempt as well, I constantly got that recommendation in the conference as well. In the second and third attempt, I got to hear that you are too nice to join the army. Maybe you won't even kill a terrorist for the sake of it because you are such a nice person. So it was something that they were talking about the personality trait, but I didn't let it, deheart me or like demotivate me. And my family was always there to support me. So it was like every attempt is a new beginning. Trusting the process is the most important thing. So I will not let it affect me. Yes, I will work upon it, and that really helped me to fix it.
Okay, so you talked about your family who really supported you, I think, in this SSB journey. So when they heard that you have got recommended finally, what was their reaction?
So before in the previous attempts, it used to be like I used to call my parents on the day of screening and on the last day of conference. So it used to be like in screening, I usually get to be screened in. So I used to like yes हो गया, अब 5 days के बाद call करूँगा. So yeah, and the last date was like नहीं हुआ. So this time I was like चलो let's do a bit of like a prank with them, and I was like हो गया. So I first called my mother, and I was like हो गया. She was like what? मैं बोला हो गया. And I mean, she is a bit of an emotional person, so she cried. So that made me a little emotional. Then I called my dad. So I told him हो गया. Like he was listening very carefully. He was like shabash. He doesn't express much, but the way in which he said shabash, there was this heavy pitch in his voice. I got to know that he is emotional. So yeah, then I called my sister as well, and she was really happy. So it was emotional. Then I called a few of my friends as well. One of my friends had a sore throat, so like I called that person, and I said ho gaya, and her voice was like not that good, and I literally laughed. So that took out the emotional part, and I was laughing. I was like before the conference, I was like dua kar liya mere liye and everything, and she was like dua kabul hogi.
Great. So I really think that our parents, our friends, their blessings, their love, their support is everything in our life. And that always makes us to go towards success.
Yes, for
Uh,
sure, ma'am. Like there are phases when there are in everyone's like there are phases where you feel demotivated, or you don't want to continue. But like if you have such good people, the positive people, your parents or good friends with you, they'll stay there for you even when you are at your lowest. So that is the point. That is the really important aspect of that.
Absolutely right. So as you were talking about feeling low, demotivated, in your 5 attempts, have you ever felt this kind of, negative feeling, this demotivation, and how you overcame it?
Yes. So in my first 3 attempts, there wasn't much of that. Like till the third attempt, there wasn't. So like I used to get the nice person tag from in all the in the 2 conferences that I get. So I didn't let it affect me. But in fourth attempt, in which I got screened out, so I wasn't expecting that. So in that moment made me a bit emotional, and I was like, I won't be giving the fifth attempt anymore. I would be preparing for my JE, and I would be pursuing engineering or something. I don't want to give this. Maybe I'm not made for this. So that was somewhere where I felt really demotivated. But then again, my parents were there for me, my friends were there for me, and even I was there for myself. Even if a person is at the lowest point, if he's trusting himself, the way he treats himself or herself at that particular point, that is really important. Because if at the lowest point, if you are motivating yourself कि नहीं तू कर सकता है, give it a shot, so definitely you will try to be a better person. But if at your lowest point you are still hurting yourself or like constantly blaming yourself, then it doesn't make any point. So self motivation is really important, I guess.
Absolutely right. अब आप बात करते हैं आपके पैशन के बारे में अबाउट You are from a civilian background, I guess. आपके
Yes,
father government professor है, associate professor, और आपकी जो mother है वो housewife है,
yes.
homemaker है. तो being from a civilian background, how did you get motivated to join the defense?
So like yeah, I'm from a civilian background completely. Like I have a cousin sister. Like she's the first gen officer in the AMC. So but a few of my relatives are there, like distant ones. So it started in class 5. I still remember that. I went to this Yule camp. It is near Dharamshala only. So my relative was posted there. So when I got inside the camp, I was with him only. So I really liked the lifestyle of the people. The disciplined lifestyle. How you have to be on the time every single time. How you have to stay motivated. It is army is something in which you have to stay fit, and it is better for you rather than any other job. And then he told me a lot of stories about his own life, the bravery, the story of bravery, the story of valor. He told me stories about Vikram Batra, etc. So at that point, that class 5 child had really that motivation to join the Indian Army as his childhood dream. So after that, I never looked back. I started to research more and more about the Indian Army from my side as well. Got to know about a lot of other aspects as well, and there was nothing stopping me back from there.
ग्रेट. आई थिंक हमारे बचपन में ये बच्चों का यही होता है कि हम बड़े होके पुलिस बनेंगे, नहीं तो आर्मी में जाएंगे, नहीं तो पायलट बनेंगे. सो आई थिंक दिस इज वेरी कॉमन इन पीपल. बट ऑब्वियसली ये भी होता है कि जब दे स्टार्ट ग्रोइंग अप, they leave that dream behind. Most of the children, they do that, but there are some people like you who just really want to be in it.
Thank you.
Adhidev, I want to now talk about your recommendation, right? अभी आप repeater हो, and I remember अभी कुछ देर पहले आपने कहा कि जब आपका first attempt था, you were a bit naive, right? So as a first time attempter, जो भी जा रहे हैं पहली बार SSB attempt करने के लिए, क्या लगता है आपको कि उनके अंदर कौन सी चीज की जानकारी रहना important है, कैसे वो अपना preparation करके जा सकते हैं?
See, I'll say the first attempt is the most important attempt, because you are going as a fresher. So even if you are making a few small mistakes, that would be overlooked over a repeater. From repeaters the expectations are more, which is understandable. So as a fresher, I would say to all the freshers, practice really well. Get to know about the SSB process, the OIR test, the PPDT, then the psych test, what all is there. And the basic tips that I have is, for interview part, I would say that don't try to answer everything. If you don't know anything, just say, sir, I don't know. Because that is the mistake that I did. During my interview, I was trying to answer everything with confidence, even if I was saying the wrong thing. So the interviewer also told me that, beta, confidence is good, overconfidence is not good. So I would say that beware of that. Don't be overconfident before you go, because most of you would be going for your ND or from written entry. So you would be like, yes, I've cleared the written exam. Now it is easy for me. I will clear the SSB as well. It is not like that. It is like the process has again started. So step by step, take the steps, one day at a time, one test at a time, and definitely if you are doing good in each one of them, you will definitely do better.
Very valued feedback and advice from you, Adhidev, being a repeater. मुझे लगता है जितने भी हमारे व्यूअर्स है जो फर्स्ट टाइम अटेम्प्ट देने जा रहे हैं, वो हमारे आदिदेव के जो भी एडवाइस है, सजेशन है, वो आप मान के जाओगे, because he is a very hardcore repeater now. So now talking about being a repeater, Adhidev, जब आप लास्ट टाइम 5th टाइम के लिए गए थे SSB, जहां से आपको रिकमेंडेशन मिला, कौन से एडवांटेजेस या डिसएडवांटेजेस आपको मिला था बीइंग अ रिपीटर?
Ma'am, so talking about the advantages, बहुत सारे थे. Like there are OIR sets, the intelligence, there are booklets of the OIR, the intelligence test. So sometimes the booklets repeat in most of the SSBs. So like for me, it repeated in Bangalore, it repeated in Bhopal. A lot of the questions repeat again and again. Even in the psych test, the pictures repeat, the WTs repeat, the SRTs repeat. In the interview as well, some of the questions are similar. In the GTO also, some of the structures and everything in the PGT, it will be similar. Plus the fact that being a repeater, if you are experienced with something, or if you are talking about something in which you are doing constantly again and again, so definitely the anxiety level or the nervousness level will be decreased with a certain period of time, because SSB is something which will decide your future. Those 5 days are going to be really crucial, and definitely you will get that nervousness. But if you are again and again giving it, so the nervousness level somewhere decreases. I guess these were the advantages. And talking about the disadvantages, so you would be sitting in the screening test, you would be sitting with the repeaters only, the GD and everything. It is understandable, not sort of a disadvantage, but again, most of the repeaters know what to do, so it becomes slightly difficult to get into in the screening process. And rest, I guess it is similar for freshers and repeaters. They are treated in a similar way, so it doesn't make much of a difference, except for the GTO, in which the repeaters will mostly get the same group, and the freshers will be in the same group. So again, the GD and everything, the repeaters are more experienced for that. So they'll have a healthy conversation, and it is fine. It is really good. So yeah, that was the disadvantage.
I don't know, Adhidev, but I have heard it for the very first time. Being a repeater, you're saying there are a lot of advantages more than disadvantages.
Yeah.
Because जब भी मैं बात की किसी भी repeater के साथ, the person has told me pressure बहुत ज्यादा होता है, expectation levels बहुत high होती है, कभी कभी selection थोड़ा dicey हो जाता है repeaters के लिए, or they want you to be completely experienced in something or the other, which is obviously not always possible. But you are talking about more advantages here, so yes, I could see a silver lining somewhere. So Adhidev, now I will want you to talk about what are the different questions you got in your SSB. So we will start with the screening. You said in your last attempt, 4th attempt, that means you were screened out for the very first time. So how you prepared for screening this time?
So I will talk about the 4th. Like in the 4th attempt, my OIR went good again. But like in the PPDT, I really did a bad job. Like I don't know, it was a bad day or something. My story wasn't sensible. and even in the discussion I was going against my group. So this time it was simple for me, like again taking it one step at a time. So in the OIR, my OIR was really good. Thank you to SSB Crack exams again. I had bought a booklet, the online series which was there, the videos and everything. So I watched every single during my first attempt only. I watched every single video of it and solved every single exercise. So it really helped me out. Like the questions were from with the level of SSB Crack exams. The questions were at par or below par. So the level of SSB Crack exam book questions were really really good. So it really helped me throughout the SSB process. So that is how I prepared for my OIR, and there were around 40 questions in two booklets, and we were given 30 minutes to solve them for each booklet. So there were 80 questions. I attempted all of those 80 questions, and almost my 70% questions were correct. So I knew my OIR has went well. And talking about the PPDT, there was a picture. It was a really hazy picture. Even the SSS accepted that the picture was really easy. Even I saw such a hazy picture for the first time in all my attempts. So there, it was like there's a water body, and a few people are like raising up their hands, and they are like there was some swimming, and it was like an auditorium. So the story that I made was for a swimming competition, and how the captain prepared his team for the competition with the help of his coach. So that was the story that I made. And in the GD, in the narration part first, my narration was always fine. Like I didn't used to stutter much, and I always there was this plan that I had. I used to listen to other people as well, like with they carefully, so that when my turn comes to speak up, they also will listen to me, and I'll have that motivation. It will feel better because the people are listening and showing the curiosity towards me. So my narration had went well, and then there was the GD for the first time. Like our GD group was really good. Like I won't complain much about it. Yes, in the beginning there was this fish market situation, but after that most of the people had similar story of the swimming competition. So we had a really healthy discussion. Like I made 3 or 4 points which were really eligible for it, and it really helped me out in the GD as well and in getting screened in as well.
So it went all smoothly according to your plans and everything. So
Yes,
it
ma'am.
was a day made for you, I would say.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you just now said that you never had any problem with the narration, right? So could you give some tips for those people here who is watching this, जिनको थोड़ा नरेशन में प्रॉब्लम होता है या जो बोलने के टाइम में हेजिटेट करते हैं, स्टटर करते हैं, उनके लिए आपको क्या लगता है, क्या टिप्स उनको फॉलो करना है?
Ma'am, my first suggestion would be ki maybe the stutterness is because of the people around you. Maybe when you are alone, your English might be fine. So I would say that while you are at home, try to connect with people. Your friends, your fellow SSB mates only, and try to have such GDs online. Through video call, like we are having the Zoom call. So they can also have such calls, and that stutterness might go up if they have the fear of speaking in front of a lot of people. But if they have problem with their English, somewhere like they don't know the vocabulary really well, I would suggest to go for English shows or watching English interviews, English movies. That will really really help. And the most common thing, speaking in front of the mirror, you will know how you are doing only if you watch yourself, or you can talk to your parents as well, like how I'm speaking and everything. So these might really help them in the narration part and even throughout the SLB process, because they say that you can speak in Hindi as well as English, but English is preferred one.
ऑलवेज एंड आई थिंक ये जो मिरर के सामने बात करने का प्रैक्टिस है, ये आपके लेक्चरेट में भी बहुत ज्यादा काम आएगा, राइट?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
ओके. एंड ऑल्सो वी एसएसबी क्रैक एग्जाम्स वी हैव दिस इवनिंग सेशंस, जो भी हमारे एसएसबी इंटरव्यू के लिए लाइव क्लासेस ज्वाइन करते हैं, हम लोग इवनिंग सेशन हर रोज कंडक्ट करवाते हैं. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर आल्सो इंप्रूविंग देयर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स बिकॉज दे आर कमिंग अप, they are discussing, they are having GDs, they are having lecture. It's a very good way to develop your communication. Thanks for your tips, Adhidev. Now coming to the psychological test. यहाँ पे मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, और आई थिंक बहुत सारे जो व्यूअर्स है हमारे एपिसोड के, उनके भी अंदर ये क्वेश्चन है कि साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट क्या चीज है, इसको हम लोग अप्रोच कैसे करें, क्या लिखना है, क्या नहीं लिखना है, और क्या करें हम लोग, शुड वी गो टू अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट, हाउ कैन वी मेक श्योर कि हम लोग जो लिख रहे हैं साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट में दोज आर एक्सेप्टेबल. तो आपका कैसा एक्सपीरियंस रहा था इस चीज में, आपने कैसे प्रैक्टिस किया, और साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट आपका कैसा गया था?
तो साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट के 4 पार्ट्स होते हैं. देयर इज TAT, थमेटिक परसेप्शन टेस्ट. देयर इज WAT, वर्ड एसोसिएशन टेस्ट. देयर आर SRTs, सिचुएशन रिएक्शन टेस्ट, एंड देयर इज द SD, the self description. Psychological test is more about the personality that you show up, the personality of yours that you write down. So I will talk about the TATs first. It is similar to PPDT. You will be shown a picture on the screen and you will have for 30 seconds and you will have to write a story in 4 minutes. So TATs का ऐसा है कि I would say my suggestion would be कि try to explore a lot of things while you are preparing for your exams as well, because there might be pictures and everything, in of the things that you have done in your life. Maybe there are a group of students who are preparing for a certain thing, reading newspaper. So maybe if it is preparing for a quiz, preparation for a quiz, and if you have done that, you know what you can write, what actions to write. So I guess exploring really really helps. And sometimes there might be situations like, there is a farm and a farmer is working and someone is from a city background. So still I would say exploring is also involves talking to people. So if you have someone from a village background or something, you can talk to them as well, get to know about their perspective as well, the things that they do. So that will really help you in writing the TATs as well. In all the four tests, it is about connecting those dots. Like if in the first test someone is writing a story of playing a sports competition, but in the second one, he's writing, there comes a word education, and he writes something against sports about it, like education is better when sports are not there. So then it brings the contradictory thought to the mind of the psychologist as well. It is a simple psychology, like even to us, if we are reading, at first he's saying that sports is good, but at the other point he's saying it isn't good. So I would say that be clear about yourself as well, introspect a lot. Like, what do I think about a particular thing, or what do I feel about a particular thing? So I guess that really really helps. So now coming to WATs, you'll be shown a word for 15 seconds on the screen, and you will have to in that 15 seconds only you'll have to write a word. So again, I would say my suggestion for WATs would be, don't write any factual data or something. Write what you feel. Even the assessor will tell you what you write what you feel. I will give an example. Like I was given the word lieutenant, so I wrote love and respect. So that is the only thing I wrote. Like many students, I talked to a lot of people, and they wrote like lieutenant. They give the example of some lieutenant, or like lieutenant is the beginning of a new journey or something like that. So like it becomes a factual data. But I had just two words in my mind, love and respect. So I simply wrote that. So I guess it is fine to be yourself. You can write what you feel. It is absolutely okay. Even if you are writing what you are feeling and you are not getting recommended, just say that. You will know that, okay, fine, this is what I showed. And then you will be able to introspect that, yes, maybe that was the point where I did wrong. So for the WATs, my suggestion would be this. And for the SRTs, I would say it is a simple test, like don't panic or something. SRTs is more about, daily day-to-day life situations. Like you see a boy drowning in the river, what you will do? So you are free to imagine anything. It is fine that you don't know swimming, but at that point it is fine ki mere ko swimming aata hai. So definitely you will jump into the river, get the boy out, help him out, take the body out of the body, give him a towel or something, a hot cloth or something, and take him back to his home. So SRTs are the simple things. For the SRT, my situation would be like, try to read like newspapers or everything, because newspapers as well, we get a lot of news about that there might be a fire in the building and what the people did, so that really helps out in us writing the stories as well. And one more point I would like to give in the TAT, try to write something innovative. Like there might be a story of an accident, maybe most of the people write about taking the man to the hospital, helping out, but I had written a story about a smart helmet. So like how one of the IT engineers, he saw one of the accidents while he was going to his office job. Then he had this idea about building a smart helmet for the two-wheeler drivers and how it can help them to prevent such accidents, by helping them out, telling them the smart helmet calculating like there is a jam ahead, or the number of people, or maybe how much rush is there. So that really really helps, like innovative stories. So I would suggest to watch shows like Shark Tank, in which such innovative stories comes up. And
So
in the
how
self
you got the idea? Sorry to interrupt you, Adhidev, but how you got this idea of smart helmet?
again, ma'am, by newspaper reading and like reading about different stories and watching Shark Tank. Like there was one episode of Shark Tank in which he also had the similar idea. So it was really fascinating for me as well at the first go, because if I hadn't watched that show, this idea wouldn't have come into my mind. So watching such shows, such on Discovery or like Shark Tank, etc., it really improves your horizon in the future as well. So I guess it is really important to watch such shows, and it will really help in your psychology as well.
So
And
I think
the
now
last
I'm going to go and watch a Shark Tank episode. because I really need these ideas. जो भी देख रहा है, I mean, आप लोग भी देख सकते हैं. Thank you so much, Adhidev, for such a brilliant recommendation of that show. Yes, please continue.
And the last is the self-description test. So this is the only test you can prepare beforehand completely for the SSB. Like you will know what will come. So it consists of 4 questions: what your parents think about you, what your friends or for someone who's working colleagues think about you, what did your teachers think about you, what do you think about yourself, and what kind of person you would like to be in the future. So my suggestion would be for it would be, don't try to fake your personality again, because in the previous 3 tests the assessor has analyzed what sort of a person you are. He wants to know how much do you know about yourself. So it was clear for me, like for each question, try to ask that particular person. Try to ask your parents what sort of person I am, what do you feel about me, and try to write your positives as well as negatives. It is fine. Like, yes, try to write more of your positives, and in 1 or 2 lines, try to write the negative point of yours, and also tell how you are improving upon it. So that will really, really help you in the SD as well.
Oh my God, that's a huge, torrent of information. I think जिनके भी मन में doubts है ना psychological test क्या होता है, आपकी ये बातें सुन के तो everything has been solved, I guess. अब मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है आदिदेव, बहुत सारे बच्चे होते हैं, कैंडिडेट्स होते हैं जो पूछते हैं कि मैम क्या हमें सारे क्वेश्चंस का जवाब देना है साइकोलॉजिकल टेस्ट में, क्योंकि कभी कभी टाइम थोड़ा कम हो जाता है, कभी कभी बिल्कुल थॉट्स नहीं आते. तो आपने कितने अटेम्प्ट किए थे और आपको क्या लगता है, इज इट नेसेसरी टू आंसर ऑल द क्वेश्चंस इन साइक टेस्ट?
All right, so TATs I attempted all of them. There were 12 of them, so I attempted all. WATs again, there were 60 words. I attempted all the 60. SRTs, there were 60 SRTs and I attempted 45. So I would say, like, in the TATs and WATs, try to write something or anything, because if you are leaving that space empty, as far as what I have realized, and also talking to other people as well, there is this impression on the psychologist that this person panicked out in this particular picture or this particular word or this particular situation. So I would say that try to write anything, but don't leave that particular thing empty. I would say for the TATs, I would say that write anything, write any story, but don't leave it empty, please. And for the WATs as well, if you are not getting that from the heart word, what you feel from that particular word, it is fine to write the factual data as well, not a problem, but never leave a word empty. Even, the most common word in all my SSBs was aloof, and I didn't know the meaning of it. So it first came up in my second attempt, then third, and then in the fifth. So the second, I didn't know the meaning of it. So I simply wrote, I don't know the meaning. Because if I had left that word empty, maybe he would have thought something else about it. So I simply wrote, I don't know the meaning of it. So it is fine to write such words as well. It is not a problem, but don't leave it empty. And in the SRTs again, see, it is a very few people are able to complete all the 60 SRTs because you are given 30 minutes for it. So if you're writing, say, like I did, 45 SRTs, don't leave any situation in from 1 to 45 empty. Write anything, try to write anything, but don't leave it empty, because again, the impression that will go with the psychologist is that that person panicked in this situation. So it is fine. Like in the SRTs, it is fine. Like if you're leaving 50, 20 SRTs, even I've seen persons who got recommended while writing 30 SRTs. It is the quality that matters. And yes, don't try to leave the word empty, the space empty.
Okay, I have a question here, Adhidev. आप जितने भी टिप्स यहाँ पे बोल रहे थे, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल थैंक यू फॉर दैट टिप वेयर यू डिडंट नो द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड और आपने लिखा आई डोंट नो द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस. ये बहुत ही अच्छा टिप है. वी हैव नेवर थॉट अबाउट इट अर्लियर. सो मैं ये टिप अपने क्लास में जरूर दूंगी अपने कैंडिडेट्स को. ये दिस इज क्वाइट क्लेवर एंड द साइकोलॉजिस्ट विल नो एंड ही विल नॉट थिंक एनीथिंग एल्स. बट वॉट एवर टिप्स यू वन गिविंग कि कोई भी वर्ड्स को स्किप नहीं करना है, पिक्चर्स को स्किप नहीं करना, by any chance did you go through our videos?
Like I told, like I had bought the course on SSBCrack as well. Like first I got from the offline coaching in Olive Greens, Chandigarh. But after that, I realized there was certain shortcomings in me and everything. So yes, I did buy a course on SSBCrack as well. And there was the similar suggestions by them as well.
Okay, because I could find a similarity between whatever you are saying and, we are usually, we give advice and suggestions to the people. Okay, so that's great to know. So my next question, Adhidev, is not a question but a request to you basically कि जो भी viewers है वो जानना चाहते हैं कि टैट में किस तरह का पिक्चर आपको मिला था, वैट में कौन से वर्ड्स आपको मिला था, कुछ भी आपको जो भी याद है, एसआरटी में कैसे सिचुएशंस मिले थे. सो इफ यू कैन जस्ट गिव सम एग्जांपल्स ऑफ व्हाटएवर यू कैन रिमेंबर.
The most common picture, like जो सबसे ज़्यादा repeat हुआ था, that was of a person holding a gun and like trying to pinpoint it at the other person, and he was just standing with his hands up. So a lot of stories, and he was not wearing a like that police dress or something. He was just in his normal attire. And this was the first story that I remember. Then second was of a mechanic. He was repairing his car. It was the second picture, not his car. There was some car and he was repairing it. The third picture was of a woman who was carrying, like, there's this jholi thing that you carry like this. So she was carrying that, and she was going to some sort of a palace or something. And there was this first story of a village background in which there's a person in formals, and the other person is definitely a villager, maybe a farmer or something. So this one I remember as well. And then there was this fifth picture of again a man in formals, and there's this other man wearing traditional dress of. It was a Rajasthani traditional dress as far as I remember, and they were shaking their hands. So these five, and yes, I remember one more. There was a group of students who were reading their newspapers, and they were preparing for something like maybe a competition or something. So these pictures I do remember. Talking about the WATs, there were words like, first again, lieutenant was there. There was the word mother. There was disappointment. There was travel. There was skill. There was time. And WATs generally consist of the day-to-day words that we use. So yeah, these words I do remember. And in the SRTs, there were situations like you were going to your school in the late night. You were going with your friends, and some of goons come up and pinpoint a gun at you and ask for your wallet. So this was the first situation. Then the second was your mother has fallen ill, no one is at your home, and you have an exam the next day. So it was the second situation. The third one was you were going to a market and it suddenly started to rain. So it was the third one. Then there was the fourth one, like you are traveling in a bus, and goons come up and beat the conductor. So these four I remember.
That's a lot of remembering things. You have such a good memory, I guess, right? Adhidev, क्यों मैं होती तो भूल जाती, ठीक है? Very frankly speaking, बहुत सारा आपने याद रखा. अब आते हैं हमारे नेक्स्ट टेस्ट की ओर. हम लोग बढ़ते हैं पर्सनल इंटरव्यू, जिसके बारे में आपने पहले भी अपने सक्सेस स्टोरी में कहा था, उतना अच्छा नहीं गया था. And there are different things that have been pointed to you, so it was a complete mess, I think, right? I think इंटरव्यू के बाद आपको लगने लगा डाउटफुल हूं मैं, क्या था ये. सो कैसा था आपका इंटरव्यू, क्या हुआ था, क्वेश्चंस क्या क्या पूछे गए थे और आपका आंसर कैसा था?
Alright, so starting में ही बहुत बुरा स्टार्ट हो गया था. Like we were told by the officer, we were shown the rooms and everything, and he said that bring a water and as well as bring a mask of your own. So मैं mask भूल गया, and when I went in, I sat down, I greeted him, and he said where's your mask? I said, so the persons before, the candidates who were before me, they had told me that he will ask you to open your mask on the spot. So I gave that as an, I couldn't have said Bhul, that would have made a really bad impact. So I said, Ki, sir, I got to know that you were asking to put the mask down at the very beginning, so I didn't bring it. He said, but you must follow the protocols. That is the most important thing in the armed forces. So that moment I was like, yes, I've messed up. So I said, sorry, sir, I will definitely keep that. So he was fine with it. Like, I didn't really let it affect me much. So that was something, so the start was a bit upside down. And then I wasn't asked a single technical question, first of all. Like, it was the TES entry, and I wasn't asked a technical question at all. It was too much interested in my life, I guess. So starting with the first things, like I had taken a drop year, it was my drop year. So he had asked me about my drop year, like what all did you do? So I had the advantage, like my JE, January attempts JE result had come up, and I had scored 90 percentile in it. And in my previous JE, I had 78 percentile. So definitely somewhere showed that yes, I have not wasted my drop year or something. First, I talked about how much I wanted to join NDA, and I was too focused on it and didn't prepare much for JE. So that I said to him that I didn't want to regret any of my decision in the future. Like all I have is the present, and I didn't want ki I sit in a private institute or something and regret ki I could have done better in JEE or got an IIT or something. Even if I don't, I wouldn't regret my decision. So that was something about the drop rate ideas. Then I had taken online coaching for the NDA attempt as well. So he talked about it, like why did you take online coaching? Why didn't you take offline coaching? Even for my JEE, my coaching and everything was online. So I talked about the advantages of online coaching to him, like how much it has come up in the few years after the Geos era. And so he called me an introvert, like you do online coaching, so maybe you are an introvert. So I had to convince him that no, I'm not. I love talking to people. I love getting to know about their perspectives and everything. So it was a convincing job to tell him that no, my reasons were different. Also, I'm from a small town, so like I had to go to Chandigarh or Delhi or Kota. So like I told to him about that as well. Then he asked me about why did you change your school. So in my class 10th, I had ICSE, and in my class 12, I went to a government school. So the first reason was because of the COVID. COVID had come up like in our 11th and 12th, and the my ICSE school of class 10th was in Punjab. So like it was the interstate travel thing. So I talked to him about that, like it was the interstate thing, and I also was honest about myself. Like I told him that when you do government, you're well from a government school, you get some incentives from Himachal government in future jobs. So at that point, he stopped. Like he was like, okay, fine. So these three questions, he really grinding me upon that. And there was the fourth question, like which arms do you want to join? So I had talked about joining the course of signals. So he said, why do you want to join that? I said, like I have been into coding, I have been really good in that, and if I want to give services to the Indian Army, I would want key I give it that in the best field and in my best way possible. So he talked about why should we take you? Why can't we take an IITian? So the whole interview was about convincing him that no, I'm a good person and everything. Then he went to my parents. He asked about the strengths, the weaknesses. How do you help your parents in day-to-day activities? Then he went to my friends. How many friends do you have and everything, their strengths, their weaknesses. He didn't ask me much about on the sports and hobbies things, but I would say for the other candidates, like do prepare for that, because in the previous interviews I was asked a lot about the sports and the hobbies. Be really, really thorough about whatever you write. Have a really good knowledge about it. Then he went to the army knowledge. Like he asked me basic questions, given the fact I was from a civilian background, like which all supporting arms are there, which one would you like to join, and they were simple questions. Then he asked me a bit of current affairs. Then in the end, he asked me about my strengths and weaknesses. So I was mentioning my weaknesses, and I had realized that my army knowledge wasn't good. Like even in the interview, I realized that it was a bit low. So I told him that, sir, I have realized from the interview that my army knowledge isn't that good. So maybe I would like to improve upon that in the future. So he said, yes, it is good that you realized the problem rather than, just coming up with the already revised weakness, like we hear from most of the candidates. And there was this fun thing that happened while I was talking about my friends in the interview. So I was talking about my friends, like I was talking about my male friends first, then there were female friends. So, there was this wicked smile on his face. So there's this common question like, do you have a girlfriend in the interview? So when I was talking about my female friends, I said, so they're like sisters to me. And he laughed really hard after that. And he said, you saw me laughing, right? I said, yes, sir. He said, maybe you could take my place in the future, given the fact you have such a good psychology. Then that point, I somewhere realized, okay, fine. I'm glad from his side because he said something like this. So it was a fun thing.
Okay, so it was a mixture of, I would say, fun and a bit of grilling. So आपको क्या लगा ये 5th attempt में जैसे आपका इंटरव्यू हुआ, इससे पहले आपके जितने भी इंटरव्यूज हुए थे, were it like they were something like this, or it was completely different one for you?
In this one, there was a lot of grinding. Like in my first attempt, after my first attempt, only in the 5th attempt there was grinding. Or in all the others, there were simple questions being asked, and I was simply answering it. There were cross questions as well, but I was able to answer them. But in this one, there was a lot of grilling and grinding. So yeah, it was really, I would say, fun. It was fun.
राइट तो मैंने ये अपने एक्सपीरियंस से नोटिस किया कि जितने भी अच्छे कैंडिडेट्स होते हैं ना, दे ग्रिल दोस कैंडिडेट्स. आई डोंट नो व्हाई. Maybe they want to see more of you when you are under pressure, maybe. So
Yeah, I guess
hmm.
I guess they try to take you to that level. Talk about all the negative aspects, then see that maybe he stays there or bring positivity or a positive answer or something different sort of an answer. So maybe I guess that is the reason.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. So now coming to the next part, which is actually बहुत सारे candidates हमारे viewers भी है जो enjoy करते हैं, वो है group task. Because थोड़ा सा activities भी होते हैं, it's like a game that you play with your group. तो आपका group task कैसा था? कौन से group task में आपने बहुत अच्छा performance दिया? कौन से task में आप अच्छा perform नहीं कर पाए? So if you can just tell us, और आपका GTO के साथ जो group testing officer थे, उनके साथ आपका कुछ मतलब कैसा बॉन्डिंग था, या फिर उनके जो एटीट्यूड बिहेवियर्स वो आप पे कोई भी इफेक्ट डाला था या नहीं डाला था, हेल्प उन्होंने किया था नहीं किया था?
All right, so I'll talk about my individual performance like in all the tests. So the first was the GDs. Like there are two GDs conducted. So one is on current affairs and one is more like on a normal topic in which everyone can speak. So I realized one thing, that in my GDs I wasn't able to contribute much uh, in the GDs. Like in both of the GDs, wasn't able to speak that much. I was able to give points, but not that much. So I realized that, and it was fine for me. Like I said, okay, I will do better in the GP. Then I did really good in the GP as well. After that, we had the PGT. So it was simple for me. Like a few candidates had gone in the front, so it was fine. Like I would also suggest for the viewers as well who are watching, like if you are in the PGT, try to go in the front, try to place the patti, balli, rasa by your own. But it is fine if you are at the back as well. Maybe the persons in the front aren't able to think of an idea, then you can do that. And that is what I did in few of the structures. Then there was the GOR. It was a really good race. So a fun incident happened in the GOR. Like there was this balancing beam thing. You know, you have to go climb a wall and go to the other side, throw a balancing beam. So on the other lane, in the other group, one person had fallen down from by his back, and that and I was standing in the middle of the balancing beam and I fell down as well. By watching him, like there's this balance that a person get at the anxiety sort of thing. So again, but like I didn't give up. I again went to the back and I again stood up, climbed the wall. So GOI was really fun. And there was SGT. Again, I was able to give. There were only two ideas required, so one of them was given by me. Then there was the individual obstacles. I did 9 out of 10. So I would say that there isn't much. I would say stamina is required for the whole group GTO thing. So it is really important that you have stamina. If even if you go for a walk daily, it is more than enough. Because in all the other things, your mind would be used in the PGTs. The basic concept of physics, like cantilever things and all, that would be used. But yes, if you have good stamina, that would be really helpful in your IOs. Then after the IO, we had the command task. My command task was moderate, but there were simple ideas that were coming up, so I was able to do that quickly. And one good thing that happened to me in the command task was that while I was called as a subordinate by the other person, he wasn't getting the ideas. So I somewhere helped him to complete the command task completely. So I sort of completed two of them. So I guess it did give me a plus point. Then there is the final group task. So in the final group task again, you don't have the assessor has made up his mind, the GTO has made up his mind that I have to take them, I have to take that. So in the FGD, he wasn't looking much at our performances. He was looking at the other group performances in which they were standing on a particular beam, and he was laughing up. So we knew that FGD isn't. I would say FGD isn't much important. Try to do better in the previous task. And there was lecture it. I spoke on the topic of Russia-Ukraine war. So I was good with the current affairs. Like I had prepared well for it, so I was able to speak fluently for that. So
what other topics you got for the lecturate?
There was Russia-Ukraine war. There was the second one was online education, boon or a bane. There was destination wedding, and there was my favorite book. And in the GD, I remember the first one, like for India to become a superpower, what is the most important aspect? Foreign policies, manufacturing, or the governance. So these were the topics for this is the GD that I remember. And the experience with the GTO was really good. Like he was a good person. Like of course he's an officer, so he's a good person. But like he was a positive person. Like he helped us throughout it. We will have a conversation with the GTO alone before the command task. So he was also constantly asking me questions. And there was this one thing that I told in the interview as well about trusting the process. So he asked me the same question: Are you trusting the process? I was like, yes, sir, I am.
That's a great thing. So now we'll talk about the group, because हमें पता है कि group task में group is the most important priority. आपका group कैसा था? And do you really think कि recommendation में group plays a very important role?
Yeah, I do think कि group बहुत important play करता है role recommendation में. So in my previous attempts, मैंने जो भी attempt दिए, मेरा GTO group wash out हुआ. This was the first time from our group 3 candidates got recommended, and So that clearly indicates that the GTO group was really good. Like in the GDs as well, we had really healthy discussions. There wasn't a fish market situation. We were respecting each other's opinions and putting our own opinions as well. In the PGT and everything as well, they weren't doing their own things as well. They were first listening to all the ideas of by all the candidates and then applying that. And we were able to complete three PGTs, like the PGT1, PGT2, PGT3. So if you complete three, it shows that yes, you have that team coordination. The group is really really understanding. So I guess the group really held out. In the GORs as well, I was there, helping out the persons to go climb the wall, who isn't able to. Maybe a person has a fear of heights, to jump down. So you were constantly motivating. Come on, you can do that thing. So the group was really really motivating. Like three candidates got recommended. So I guess I am really thankful to my group.
That's great. तो आप अपने ग्रुप के साथ टाइम कैसे स्पेंड किए, एंजॉय कैसे किया?
Yeah, so after like we were giving the just numbers. So after that, we started to bond on the spot, like my fellow mates on the left and the right, just number 21 and 23. I started talking to them, getting to know about them, their perspectives, and in the lines and all, we had fun. In SSBs, you won't be able to sleep. So forget about that, because people will be sitting there telling stories, having fun all night. You might be able to sleep for 5 or 4 hours maximum. But yeah, we really bonded well in the SSB lines as well. We talked about each other's stories, how many of them were previously recommended and everything. So we, jokes and everything. One of them was a stand-up guy. He used to do stand-up. So it was a really fun experience. We bonded really, really well.
I have a question here, Adhidev. This is for those of them जिनको fish market situation बहुत ज़्यादा मिला है. आपने कहा इस बार you got a very good group, so it was not a fish market situation there in GD. But आपका क्या take है on this particular aspect of fish market situation? जब fish market situation हो रहा है, how will a candidate participate in that? क्या करना चाहिए उन्हें?
So like I have experienced key fish markets, how situations how they are. So I would say in the starting, try not to speak because everyone will be speaking and your point will not be able to come. I would say that the person who has the most knowledge in the group will be able to continue while he's speaking, while the others will calm down. So I will say first have a really, really good knowledge and good vocabulary again. I have talked about the tips for that, how you can not stutter and everything. So I would say first thing is that. Second, I would say that if you are trying, two persons are, speaking at the same time and you are coming up to speak, but they are still speaking and you're not getting the chance to speak, then you try once, you try twice, but still if they are not listening, try to say that, gentlemen, let me speak, not even gentlemen, like friends or something, let me speak as well, I have a point as well. It is fine to do that after one or two tries, because even the GTO is seeing that the other person is not letting him speak. If you want to speak, if you are trying to speak, the GTO will notice that as well. But if you're just given up on things, like just sitting there like this and not speaking anything at all, then GTO will also notice that he's not even interested in the conversations. So I would say that these are the things that you can do in the fish market situation. Try to speak up. Try to tell that yes, I want to speak as well. Hear my point as well. So it will help out.
Right. अब आते हैं आपके लास्ट डे में जब आपका रिजल्ट डिक्लेयर हुआ था, दैट इज द कॉन्फ्रेंस. तो कॉन्फ्रेंस आपका कैसा गया था? व्हाट टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस वर आस्क्ड टू यू ड्यूरिंग द कॉन्फ्रेंस, और आपको क्या लग रहा था बिफोर द रिजल्ट वाज अनाउंस्ड? व्हाट वाज योर फीलिंग्स?
So when my chest number was to come, like I was to go inside. So I waited for a long time outside as well, about 15 minutes. So I got that in my mind, like it is a sort of borderline case, like we call, for like the discussions are going on. But I wasn't sure because maybe they had a break or something. But when I went inside, they made me sit. I greeted the person who the officer was talking, and I sat down. He asked me how are you and everything. What is the meaning of my name? Then he went on with asking, like, why did you change your school again? So he asked the similar question. So, he himself told that. So maybe if COVID hadn't happened, you wouldn't have changed your school. I said, yes, I wouldn't have changed my school. So he was fine with that. Then he talked about organizing a cricket competition. Like at your school at Pathankot, the ICSE school, you have to organize a cricket competition. And the team is coming from Shimla. So what all things will you do? So that was the first question that he asked, and I almost mentioned every single thing. Like I like our school, I was there in the council, so we had prepared for a cricket competition. So it had helped me out somewhere for speaking out as well. And in the the second question was, you are the head boy of your school, and you have noticed the drug activities. Like there are students who are having drugs and everything, and you have to stop them. So I gave 1 point. Like I can do this. He said, okay, next. And similarly, he has 6 points like that. And there was this one point where something wasn't coming to my mind, and he was still looking. So I still spoke. Like the point wasn't that relevant, but I still spoke. And he was like, okay, fine. Because I thought that maybe if I speaking or something, maybe he thinks that I would have given up. So I gave my point, and then he said, okay, it is fine. Then he asked me normal questions. How was the stay? Any suggestions? And then I went down. So I knew that I was in the borderline case or something like. So yeah, I was excited for my results. Like what will happen?
So were you feeling positive that yes, I'll get recommended, or you were not so sure?
There was anxiety for sure. Like definitely, like you're in the borderline. In the next few minutes, you will be able to get to know your results. So there was a few anxiety moments. Then I called one of my friends. Like we were given the phones a bit before. So I called one of my friends, and that person, calmed me down. Like I talked to that person and I calmed down as well. And I talked to my fellow mates as well. They said, no, if you are telling that you have spoken such things, then it will be absolutely fine. You will definitely get recommended. So somewhere I had gotten that idea कि हो सकता है this time कि हो सकता हूँ. So I was waiting for my results. So result time when the results were being announced. So from it was like in a sequence, like maybe just number 11. Then he spoke just number 17 or something, for example. Then he spoke just number 21. Then he went to directly to just number 32. I was like, okay, fine. Okay, nahi hua, not a problem. So फिर ऐसा situation था. But then he paused and he said, okay, just number 22, you can go as well. I was like, okay, fine. But he didn't stop there. He went to the like gate. He was good, ready to go outside, and he said, "Okay, just number 23, you can go as well." So he was trying to have fun with us, and it was an emotional moment. Like that particular moment, the world stops. It is like the world has stopped. You have got recommended for the thing you have been hustling for so many years. Like for that childhood dream has come true. So it was somewhere an emotional moment. So yeah, it was really really good. It felt good.
So the board literally played a prank with you
Ah,
on the last day. Okay, nice. Okay, so you got recommended, but the merit list.
yeah.
And I think you were not in the merit. So what you felt after that? How you were feeling when you didn't see your name on the merit list? And what were your instant reaction? What were your plans? What did you plan when you saw that the name is not there? And how you feel?
So the last joining letter was for AIR 128, and my AIR was 138. So I left out. I was left out by 10 ranks. So on the day when the merit list came out, I got to know about my AIR. So it was 138, and I somewhere knew, okay, fine. There's chances, but the chances are very very low. But I didn't feel that bad about it because see, merit list isn't in our hands. Like I'm motivated. Like there's this MS Dhoni. I have the photo of him. So there's this thing that he says. The things that are not in our hands. We can't do anything about it. But the things that are in our hands, we can do something about it. That is where the important thing comes up. So I thought about that. That lines, and I felt yes, I have done my best in the SSB. The merit list wasn't in my hands. Maybe there were better candidates in me, and that is absolutely fine. So I didn't feel that bad. Yes, there was this 30 minutes of like sadness or thinking that I had that okay, I could have done a better job or something. But then again, it is absolutely fine. Maybe it was a lesson that in the future what better can I do. Like I spoke a bit less in the GD, so maybe if I speak a bit more, maybe my rank it could be increased. Maybe it was just a deficit of 1 mark or 5 marks that I wasn't able to go up by 10 lakhs. I felt it was fine. Like my parents also, my mom was a bit sad, but I talked her through. Like it is absolutely fine. I would be giving my CDS, my TGC attempts. Life doesn't stop. So trusting the process again is the most important thing, and it was fine. Like yeah, I was fine with the numbers.
So you're also planning to come back with a bang
Yeah.
next time.
Yes.
Okay, so all the best for your next time, Adhidev. Now, one small request to you, if you can give some suggestions or tips to those viewers here, जिनको बार बार failure मिल रहा है SSB में, but those persons are brave hearts, they are going, they are attempting, but कहीं ना कहीं उनको भी थोड़ा सा आपके जैसे फील हो रहा है कि डिमोटिवेटेड हो लग रहा है, आई एम नॉट फिट फॉर द फोर्सेस मे बी, तो उनके लिए आप क्या सजेशंस, क्या टिप्स देना चाहोगे?
We have a simple suggestion. Take it one step at a time. Don't try to, complicate things कि या तो होगा या तो नहीं होगा. Take it as a learning कि नहीं मैं वहाँ जाऊँगा and I will learn about things. I will introspect on myself. I will get to know myself better. I will meet new people. Try to take it as an experience that will be helping you rather than a competition or something कि नहीं करना ही है, because that will put extra pressure on you only. And it is understandable, like even after 4 or like for the hardcore repeaters, there are 4 or 5 attempts that you are giving, but you're still not able to make it through. It is fine that you think that maybe I'm not fit for the forces. You are asking yourself the question. But see, it is a dream. A dream that was chosen by you, the viewers, the hardcore repeaters. So you can't give up on such a thing so easily. Fight it through at your lows. Motivate yourself. Have good friends. That is the really important thing. Like, have good people around you. Surround yourself with good people who are going to support you no matter what. That really helped me out as well. So it is absolutely fine कि तुम्हें overthinking हो रहा है, तुम्हें pressure feel हो रहा है, सबको होता है. Nobody is perfect. It is absolutely fine. Just keep on trusting the things that are happening in your life. Keep on exploring, and definitely, even if नहीं भी होता है, it is absolutely fine. But you will not have that thing in your mind कि नहीं मैं ये SSB भी देने जा सकता था और मैंने नहीं दी, क्या पता recommend हो जाता. That क्या पता thing, that regretting phase should not never come in your life. So that is the solution.
That's a great thought, Adhidev, and all the people watching here. आप लोग अगर डिसअपॉइंटेड फील कर रहे हैं तो बिल्कुल भी मत कीजिए. आदिदेव को देख लीजिए, मेरिट आउट हो गया है, बट he is still not giving up. He is going to come back, and I'm sure you will, Adhidev. You have a lot of potential in you, and you have a lot of strength inside you. So all the best, and I will be here once more, and SSB Crack Talks will be here once more when you will get merit in this time, and we will again welcome you as a future officer. Thank you, Adhidev. हमारे साथ इतना प्रेशियस टाइम अपना स्पेंड करने के लिए, अपना एसएसबी जर्नी एक्सपीरियंस हमारे व्यूअर्स के साथ शेयर करने के लिए. थैंक यू वंस मोर Adhidev, and I wish you all the best and all the best of luck for your upcoming bright future ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving me.
अगर आप एक डिफेंस एस्पिरेंट हैं और एसएसबी इंटरव्यू, एनडीए, सीडीएस, एफकैट जैसे एग्जाम्स के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं तो आप SSB क्रैक एग्जाम्स के कोर्स को चेक करना ना भूलें. आप हमारी लर्निंग एप्लीकेशन को गूगल प्ले स्टोर से भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं.